ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Scottish Football, episode number 46. Aidan McGeady. There you go. We're doing shirt numbers now. Have you not
seen right, no, I've not seen that, no.
So last week was, the last one was Balotelli. The day's Aidan McGeady.
The week before would have been McManus.
I
did see that.
So, you're back on for the first time in a couple of weeks, Kieran. Taking a wee break, I suppose, after one show.
After one show. Tough luck, man.
But you're back and we've got a smile on our face for a change as Celtic fans. There's a lot of talk about the results we're going to cover. We're going to cover the Europa League draw as well. We'll talk about that, who Rangers have drew in the last 32. We'll talk about some other things and the Twitter questions at the end. Of course, Gavin Stratton couldn't make it today. See that?
He's away getting a haircut, I've heard.
Lash would be well suited as well. No offence, Cal. We love you, and you'll be on the next show, so we'll get to add the rest of yours then. But let's jump right into things because we've not got a lot of time today. I'm in a bit of a rush, so we'll just get right into it. We'll start off with Rangers because it's two Celtic fans. I feel like it's only fair.
A bit of balance.
Yes, exactly. Right, because I know David is sitting watching on the train right now, ready to see how we handle the show today. There's a lot of pressure on my shoulders. Rangers 2, Dundee United 1. It seems like nobody is going to do Celtic a favour this year, Gil.
I know. It's sad to see. In previous years you can count on Rangers going to Rugby Park and dropping points, and then even when you look at Tannadice, like, on paper this should be a hard fixture. It was the hardest one they had in their upcoming run of fixtures, and even though they've no played brilliantly, I mean they didn't play terribly, but it certainly wasn't the best Rangers form recently. For them to go out and get the result, I mean they'll be ecstatic about that because it's changed their mentality. Previously they've been gone and dropping silly points, and that's what gave Celtic the edge.
The edge in the title race,
I mean this year we've not got that. We just need to rely on ourselves, but you can't take anything away from them.
I mean Rangers have been brilliant out, and now they're showing that character and grinding out the results. So one thing I want to talk about is James Tavernier. Right now you're arguably talking about the best player in the country. I don't know if you'd agree, but I mean, there's no really looking past it at the minute.
Nah, I think you need to agree. I don't think there's anybody even close out with, I mean, certainly no out with Rangers. I mean, within Rangers, you could look at Steve Davis, who's even at his age, he's playing brilliant this season. But I mean, Tavernier, like when you're watching the game yesterday, you seen the stats come up. He was first for goals and assists in the country, and then the amount of balls crossed into the box and that. And it's ridiculous because compared to last season, when you're looking at Rangers fans saying stripping him of the captaincy, I mean, fair enough, it wasn't like in the mass numbers saying that, but I mean, the very fact there was you seen it on social media, there was a lot of people raging at James Tavernier. He seemed like the scapegoat in previous seasons, but now he's the captain and he's leading the team forward the way he's playing.
The irony of it all for me with James Tavernier, and the kind of shows the whole turnaround, is this is the same captain, this is the same man who in the match programme against Hamilton was saying, what was it he was saying again?
We don't know how to handle teams that get up in our face.
Exactly, and now he's single-handedly leading them to victories against the teams that are getting their faces. He got the assist, he got the goal yesterday. He's turned it around big time, and the free kick was just...
Yeah, you can't even do anything about that. I mean, Alan McCoy's in commentary is actually too far for about 35 yards, and then the curve on it was just unreal. It was gone away and then just tapped corner.
It's honestly, it's a thing of beauty.
It's the fact they've got two world class free kick takers in their team, and Barisic as well. But it's not even just the direct ones; it's the balls they're putting into the box for both wings. It's a lethal combination, and it's painful. It's painful.
It's painful. What a way to put it. I mean, it keeps Rangers well ahead of Celtic in the table right now. And you look at Rangers' next few games running up to the derby, there is no games there that you can look at and go, because if it was any, as you said earlier, it was this game you'd
they've got their tough games out the way.
So it's really dreamland for Rangers at the minute. They're straight sailing onto the Old Firm game where they'll go in firmly favourites, I'd imagine. And all Celtic can do is wish they had players like Tavernier on their team. I mean, I've always said, imagine we had someone who could cross a ball. And maybe we're getting there by Turnbull.
I know, we're getting there.
But pinpoint delivery for Tavernier, it's madness. And the one thing else I want to touch on from the Dundee United Rangers game, let's talk about one last thing. Was it a red card?
Every day of the week.
I mean,
you're leading with the elbow. Rangers fans have had this happen to them in the past by, what was it, Bowman against them in the semi-final against Candace, and that busted his nose. I mean, fair enough, Morelos never made contact, but if you're leading in with the elbow, there was no intention of doing anything but leading with the elbow on that.
Because that was going to be my point. My point was going to be, okay, at first I thought, I was like, red card every day of the week, watching it live, because I watched the game, I was sitting there, red card. Then after the game I seen the videos and I seen the fact there wasn't actually contact.
I know, but
maybe he was right with the yellow.
If you've gone in with that sort of intent, I mean, you don't need to make it, like, you don't need to make contact for it to be a red card offence. If you go in 2-footed into a tackle, it's still a red card if you make contact with them or no, because it's dangerous intent. I mean, Simunovic, I mean, this happened in, mind when we beat them 3-2 at Ibrox.
Kenny Miller tackle.
No, that was a 5-1 game. Do you not remember Simunovic elbowed like Morelos in the face? As soon as the linesman was calling for the red card straight away. I'm just saying, if the arm's gone up like that, it's a red card. Like, we accepted that. Fair enough, that made a bit of contact, but if it's gone up like that, it's dangerous. Like,
it's the intent that's behind it, I suppose. But he did get away with it. Like, got a yellow card, got away with it for Rangers' sake. For his sake, it'd probably better against enough because he had a garbage game yesterday. But at the end of the day, Rangers got the 3 points. They worked hard, and that was with Dundee United scoring a good goal as well. So fair play to Rangers. It's not a biased show because we think it's a red card, but it's a red card, I think. But we'll see. Leave your thoughts in the comments below towards whether or not you think it's a red card or no. But Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0. September was the last time we won a league game at home. That's a shocking start. And we've finally got one now. It was a real good game in the second half. We showed a lot of positives. I think Celtic could have scored 4 or 5 goals in the second half. But there's only one man who was kind of on the lips of everybody yesterday, and that was David Turnbull. How has he changed this Celtic team for you, Keir?
It's just, he's got that energy that we've been lacking so much for so long now. I mean, it's everybody in the support knew that these players would come in and make a difference. I mean, it wasn't even, you just knew they had the quality, and if players are sitting on the wings like that for ages, you know that they're going to have the desire to break into a team, because if they've sat there for ages looking at that team, they're like, I could definitely establish myself as a starter in there. And David Turnbull, I think it's everybody else's job to get him out the team now. I mean, him and Sorrow, they've just been,
I know Sorrow's another player who
been a breath of fresh air coming into that team, because I mean, for weeks we were just so static and everything about us was just so lacklustre.
Exactly, it was very just stagnant everywhere.
It's just upping the tempo a wee bit. It's just the energy that you needed for like somebody to drive us forward, and it's just link up the play. It's brilliant, but obviously you don't want to get too far out, like you don't want to get too ahead of yourself.
No,
but
of course,
it's all about taking it one game at a time now and giving these people the chance to try and prove themselves. But if the first 2 games are like, for them playing is any indication to go by, then they should be starting.
I know, because the main comment I got on my video yesterday after the game was I imagine the Rangers fans who click on my video don't actually listen to the whole 8 minutes. Well, some do, some actually do enjoy the content, but you get the comments from people like, oh, that's it now, just because you have won a game you are world beaters. I'm like, not at any point in the video did I suggest we were world beaters.
I'm sure they'll clip a bit that makes it sound
I know,
like that,
perhaps. But you know, as I said, it's a matter of taking a game at a time now, working on this. I don't want to jinx the players either as much as I may do, but it's all about so you just hear this sigh, you know.
Every fucking season, man.
Wait, I've been doing well so far, but look, the performance in general from Celtic, conceded 1 shot on target. It's the first solid defensive performance seen from Celtic, perhaps even this season. Shane Duffy was on point with his header, done well defensively. Ayer as well. I think Ayer was given man of the match, then gave it to Duffy. And then as well, Greg Taylor as well had a solid game. His crossing's still a bit of a shame.
I think Julian was the standout for me, just because going into that game I was worried, because obviously Julian gets a wee bit nervous. I'm a wee bit nervous, but I know I was happy with his performance, especially against Kabamba, because it's the sort of physical striker. And he got the better of him. Like, it was clear to see he was winning the headers and that. He wasn't letting himself get bullied. I mean, there's obviously that one bit where he went down injured and that, but
I was worried there.
I was because I mean, honestly, it was the first time I've looked at a Celtic defensive performance and actually been proper happy with it, because everybody played their part. Even Greg Taylor, I was a bit worried about him coming back into the team, but he looked pretty solid. I know,
apart from perhaps the inability to hit a cross on target, he was up and down that line, doing the job he has to do as a fullback. Defensively was fine. And look, I think it's really telling that the fact that Kilmarnock only did manage to get 1 shot on target, without us having to worry too much defensively, the work that the likes of Sorrow done in the middle of the park, and even McGregor as well, you know, the work they've done there to win battles in the middle of the park. Sorrow, for as much as I said yesterday, look, I don't think he had a standout game by any stretch of the imagination.
But it's not really a position that you want to have a standout. It's like you want him to be there and sort of blend in and do the dirty work. I mean, if that's the focus, then you're not playing right. Like, if you're having to, if your standout players the CDM breaking up playing a game in the league that isn't against, say, a Rangers and an Aberdeen, then you're not playing well, because you shouldn't be getting that much attention put onto the CDM.
It's like the difference between Canty playing for Leicester and then playing for Chelsea. You know, when he was at Leicester, he was a standout because of how much he actually had to do. But then at Chelsea, he was just solid all the time because he was in that.
I think it was highlighted more in the Europa League just because of the quality of opposition we were playing. No disrespect to Kilmarnock, but I mean, you're obviously going to be expecting to be under the cosh against teams like Lille. But
so had to drop back at 10 yards, play a lot deeper, give Lille a lot more of the ball. You're going to notice the difference. But at the end of the day, it's a win for Celtic heading into the cup final. I don't know who's going to be on what show now the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a bit hectic. So I'm going to ask you now, in case you're not on Friday's show, Kieran, how are you feeling heading into the cup final now? It's just a bit more confident.
After the past two games, if we were still on the run, I'd be absolutely dreading it, but hopefully it's just a chance to go and get a bit of silverware, make a bit of history, even though it might not feel as important. You know, it's something that in years, if we do go and win, you look back on and say we won the quadruple treble. But as it stands now, if we win that, I don't think it's exactly, because it's last season's cup and nobody's in the stadiums, it just still feels a wee bit lacklustre. You can't really take it away for a cup final at the end of the day, but to get a bit of silverware under the belt this season, it was just, I think it would do the world for our confidence and drive its own, because I think it might be coming at a good time as well, just for the fact we've managed to get a result in the last two games, and hopefully we can go and make a statement against Hearts. Obviously lower league opposition, but Premiership squad.
Oh, exactly.
So
it's a squad that's, trounced in the Championship.
They had a squad that shouldn't have went anywhere. Should have been anywhere near.
Should never have been in the bottom in the first place. Poor decisions at the top led the club down there, to be honest. So it's going to be an interesting cup final, to say the least. I'm looking forward to it. It's of course going to be a bit different with no fans in the stadium either, but it is what it is. We've grown used to it at this point. And that's the two big teams done, the top two, Celtic and Rangers. So it's time to move on to the rest of the league. Let's start off with one of the bigger shocks of the weekend. Motherwell 0, St Mirren 1. Me, David and Callum.
I noticed that.
We called it. And look, it's Motherwell. See, look, I just don't know what to say about Motherwell anymore.
They're so hit and miss this season, honestly. When you think they're coming onto a bit of form, I mean, obviously they started the season horrendously, and then they looked like they were going to start picking it up, but it's just when you think they're going to start doing well, they just get a result like that at home. But I mean, as you said, you've seen it coming. Like, it's just news St Mirren had it in them to go and cause. Is it even that much of an upset this season, really?
I know, I suppose, because it's so close. You've got the top four which are locked in. You've got Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, Aberdeen, and everybody else has been so. This is the point that me and David continuously make, and I've only noticed that about Motherwell now. It's been more about Dundee United this year. Dundee United have been nothing special. They've been pretty bad, but yet they have consistently been in the 5th and 6th place positions.
They find themselves in the top 6.
Motherwell have had a garbage season. They've no won in 4 games, or 5th. Like, it's not really a shock anymore, as you're saying.
Nothing's really making sense in terms of the league positions. It's weird to see so much is changing, apart from Rangers being in the top spot. Everything's just kind of changing about. Even Hibs and Aberdeen, it's just been a case of them trying to find consistency to keep themselves in that spot. It's just a sort of fluctuation recently.
Motherwell have got a work to do. I think Stephen Robinson, a lot of people are kind of losing a wee bit of patience, I think, in Robinson. But it's one of those ones. They are coming off the back of losing David Turnbull, and I thought it would be a blessing in disguise for them. I suppose sitting 5th in the table is not bad for them, considering the quality. The 4 other teams are better.
It's just made about what the Motherwell fans expect of the team this season, because in previous years you'd have bit somebody's hand off for a top 6 finish. But if you've tasted the highs of finishing 3rd last year, do you then set your expectations that high, or do you think to yourself, I think it's just a one season sort of thing? But
that's a really good point.
I'd love to hear a bit of input for Motherwell fans.
He's a shout there. Right, time to move on to the next game. We'll go to one of the easier games to talk about, because it's pretty much expected. Hamilton 0, Hibs 4. Nisbet back amongst the goals. Martin Boyle scoring. Of course, talk of him perhaps moving a field to Celtic. Christian Doidge and Paul McGinn scoring as well. It's routine for Hibs. It did momentarily have them in at 2nd place, but they sit in 3rd. I mean, what is there to say?
It's the same old story with Hamilton, but it's just the slack defending on some of the goals. I understand, like, if you're a couple goals down, your head's doing that, but I think it was for Paul McGinn's goal. It was just the ball was sitting. It was waiting for the Hamilton player to just come out, take it, clear it, get it up the park. But Paul McGinn, fair enough, it was a brilliant finish. I don't know if you've seen the goal, but
I've seen it. I'm glad that you're actually.
He took it really well, to be fair. But I mean, it's just Hamilton just don't look like they've got any tempo about their playing that in that game, and it's just, I don't know. Hibs just blowed him at the water.
Aye, and that's what happens when you have that firepower, I suppose. You know, you've got Doige and Nisbet scoring goals.
I seen a thing on Twitter, and it was more a general point, but in terms of like in the teams in the league this year, I think Rangers and Hibs are really the only two teams that I would say have properly improved their squads. Like Celtic, we looked at the transfer window and thought, this is the best transfer window in years, and that. But how did that turn it? But I mean, like, it's just the two of them have improved their squads, and to get somebody like Nisbet in, and hopefully they're hoping they can get him firing again, because that was his first goal in 4 games.
I think so. We had a wee bit of a drought, and they also, of course, I think he missed a penalty against Rangers. Was it against Celtic? He missed a penalty against Celtic as well.
Aye.
So you know, it's good to see him back amongst the goals.
It's been
of course, he's on the wall right here. In fact,
it's a testament to his sort of, I wouldn't go as far as meteoric rise, but in terms
of
to go season by season, improving, moving up a level, like
because he's a surefire player to be in the Scotland.
For being released for Partick Thistle,
exactly. I mean,
to then like for all his loan deals where he was at Dumbarton and that without scoring, and then look up now.
I mean, he's somebody who's got to be on Stevie Clark's shortlist for the.
No, it's a big rest of the season for him if he's wanting to be even considered for being on.
Yep, I mean, we didn't even touch on Warren Shankland in the Rangers game, but you're looking at the difference between Shankland and Nisbet. It's unbelievable. It's a substantial difference between two players who both, yes, last season had good seasons. But Shankland was always tipped to be the one that was going to come up here and run the
He was the one being tipped for the moves and that too. Like
Rangers,
it was always in the paper saying about Celtic and Rangers and that, maybe looking at him as a backup striker, but I mean there's always been a lot of talk about Shankland not being able to cut it in the Premiership, and this season he's not really proving them wrong, is he?
No, exactly. Right, we'll move on to St Johnstone and Livingston, and Martindale did another great job and probably getting his place as the full-time manager there. I know
we've had a good run of results now, haven't they? So it's been hard to, like, who else would you get in? I know there was talk who's the Morton manager?
Hopkins, who's just left.
So there was talk of him maybe going back.
I brought up last week. David kind of shunned me down. He's like, not a chance. I know there was talk.
I just seen it on Twitter and that. But
it's like, you know, St Johnstone, they went 11 games without losing, and Livingston, who have had a torrid time with it this season, they haven't been hitting the highs of what they did last year after losing. Of course, they've lost a lot of key players, Dykes, Lawless, all the rest of it. To get that win, and for Martindale, I think now to come off with back-to-back league wins as well, it's a real positive sign for them, because they've closed that gap between them and Dundee United. They are close to getting back into the top 6, and you know, it's just that it's something that I'm sure, after, especially with Martindale's past, and we've touched on it before, kind of alluded to it before, he'll be happy that it can. This kind of helps him get towards this job, and people start forgetting about it and move on, and we want to be positive thinking. But St Johnstone, it was a good run where it lasted.
No. I mean, they were playing well. I mean, especially to go and get results at Celtic Park and that, it's just, I suppose it's a completely different sort of game, different mentality going into it. If you're going to play at Celtic Park, you're not going to be playing the same way you're going to be playing against Livy at home. It's just,
I think a lot of people forget that.
And I've heard the point raised, but like in terms of when players go to Celtic Park, it's not to try and like put other teams down that, but it's their cup final sort of thing, in terms of they're going and playing the biggest teams in the league. That's why these players are wanting to come up here, play the best, want to impress, and maybe even get their moves to bigger clubs and that. But it's a completely different mentality when you're playing. But it's just the amount of results like that just come out the blue. I think that's why there's so much uncertainty in the table this year, just to places, because you've got Livy going away and winning 2-1, and just the quick turnaround and the results is impressive, and I do think it probably will get the job full time.
It looks as though he will. But as you said, it makes a nightmare for Coombe. So many times, surely Motherwell will win this, even though I back some, but still. And the final game to talk about is another one it's not a lot to say. Curtis Main on the double, Aberdeen 2, Ross County 0. You have seen the highlights, haven't you?
I watched.
So what did you think of it?
I mean, it's just Curtis Main at the back, isn't it? He's just that big physical striker, and it suits Aberdeen down to a T. They've always loved the big physical striker, whether it be Cosgrove or Jaden Stockley.
So who's he at now?
He was at Exeter, but I think he's at Preston or something. Because
I didn't even realise he left Aberdeen.
I know he went to. I think it was Exeter he went to, and he done quite well. I mean, it just suits the sort of lower league English football, doesn't it? But
throwing elbows and all that stuff.
With Curtis Main's goals, I mean, the first one was a bit of a tap in, but it was just being in the right place at the right time, and then. But I don't know if you go and watch the second one, it's just he's got his back to the defender, he's holding him off, just big physical striker, and then he turns so quick and just gets it, powers it past the keeper. It's reminiscent of his form at Motherwell like a couple of seasons ago when they went in the cup runs to the final and faced us twice. But he was a key player in that team because back then Motherwell had the big turnaround every summer at Motherwell. It seemed like there was just fresh faces in all the other parts.
It seems like that always happens. It's just a constant cycle, to develop these players.
But he's done well.
On Ross County's part, it's once again, I know this has been the recurring theme for today's episode. It's been about teams' form and how it's unexpected. It was only a few weeks ago we were talking about Ross County pushing on that top half, being really good, had them playing nice football, blah blah. They're now bottom of the table. They've lost 3 on the bounce now. It's looking doom and gloom. I mean, if you told me 2-3 weeks ago that Hamilton would have moved up above Ross County and probably looked a bit better than Ross County, I would have laughed. And now they're down the bottom. It's the same story, isn't it? It's just the same stuff as what I've been saying. You just don't know what to expect. And Kettlewell, who was someone who after the Celtic game knocked us out the cup, I'm sitting there thinking, he speaks well, looks so he's got a plan. And losing a game like this, it's expected. You can't be tawdry, it's no easy, but it's now one of those ones. Where does their flip come now? Where does they get that wee turnaround? I
don't know. I feel like they've got too many decent players in their squad to go down. I think they've got it in them to turn it around. They've got Ross Stewart up front, who I think's a quality player.
Stewart and Mackay, both very good strikers.
But it's just I feel like they've surely got to turn it around, because I feel like they've got maybe a game plan than Hamilton at this point. I mean, Hamilton have always got that sort of
the Hamilton way,
like the rugged, like grinding at results and that. But I still think Ross County will save themselves.
I mean, there's only 17 games in. We're almost at the halfway point. I'm sure we'll be doing some sort of halfway thing at some point on the channel. But the table is getting interesting. But down there, as we've said, very, very close. I mean, between 7th and 12th, there's only 5 points separating them, so it really spells a lot. But that's the Premiership done. An interesting weekend, and hopefully Celtic carry on with it. I'm joking, I can't make it a Celtic show. David will murder me. On to the Championship, and we may as well start with rest in peace, David. He's not here, so let's start with Dunfermline. Managerless Morton 2, Dunfermline 1. Are you surprised to see that result, Kieran?
Aye, definitely. It's just the way David especially has been talking about Dunfermline this season. He had me believing that they were kind of
as David has done well at keeping himself level-headed and saying, look, I don't think we'll win the league. We can give it a go, but Hearts is
I know, I do still think Dunfermline are going to be up the top end of it, but it's just a result like that. It's another one that's came out the boy this week.
That's why it was always going to happen for Dunfermline, because you look at, I think they were unbeaten since February. They were through to a couple. If David was saying to me, so the first time I seen him on Friday night, I came in after whatever, I can't remember, he was at the game anyway, he was there, and I came in on Friday night to see him, and I says, that's a stinking result. And he's like, well, you think about it like this, we've not lost a game since February. We lost Kevin Nisbet, which was meant to be a detrimental thing for the club, losing our best player. We start the season fantastically. We beat Hearts, we're through to a cup quarter final, we're 1 game away from Hampden, and we're still up at the top end of the table. This loss is just, they're in a really good position. I think a lot of people were surprised, of course, but
I know it's hardly going to cause a collapse in their season. I feel like they were expecting it to come at some point, but just don't know if they expected it against Morton, who had just lost their manager.
Exactly. I think it was financial reasons apparently that the managers left. Apparently David Hopkins just went in and discussed it all, and they've now left with 1 coach at the club, I believe. I believe all the coaching team are gone, something like that. So it's just, this is it, starting to see the effects.
It's tough financial times for a lot of clubs in Scotland, like even at the top level, but it's obviously going to affect the clubs in the lower leagues. But
aye, a big time. Well, Dunfermline have a chance to bounce back anyway next week against Dundee, another top of the table club. But the big question is, will they manage to dispatch of St Johnstone? I'm sure David, you'll be watching on with a very, very keen interest in going through to Hampden. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's get the stinker out the way. 0-0, Aaron Rafe. It was on the telly on Friday night. Did you see any of it?
No, I did not.
I watched a bit of it. It was an even game.
Did they look more likely winning it?
For the portions that I seen, I didn't get sitting down and watch the whole 90 minutes. It was kind of like, I watched the first half an hour, and I ended up out, and then I watched a bit. A couple of big chances missed from Moffat. He could have easily put Ayr in the lead a couple of times, and it's unlike him to miss these chances. But it's just one of the ones that I never felt like there was going to be a goal. It was just watching on. It was just a bland game for the start. And that about does it. I mean, there's no even much to throw in about it. It was quite a stinker from what I've seen. I don't know if I've misposted it. I bet I've turned off.
You've missed game of the season.
I've missed like bits of the game that were just unbelievable. But aye, 0-0 it finished there. Arbroath 0, Alloa 1. I said it to David. I predicted it. I said Alloa would walk away with this. Bottom of the table clash. There's two teams that are going to be down there all season. But a 1-0 win for Peter Grant's men. Any thoughts towards it, Kieran?
I mean, what's Alloa's recent form been like?
They were having a tough
Did they not
time
get the result? Was it the League Cup?
They
got the result against Hearts.
They knocked out Hearts in the Cup, so they gave them a bit. But this now lifts them up to 8th from the table after being without a win. So
it's going to be a hard fought season in the bottom end of that league, I think, just because it might have been hard for them to bring in players in the summer that might help them lift their position in the club. But no, it's going to be. I think the tap end's pretty much cemented in that league as to who it's going to be.
There's like a nice kind of. The thing is with the Championship, I don't know if David will necessarily agree with me because he watches the Championship week in, week out, and he knows the teams much better than I do. But when you look at it from my point of view, you've got your Hearts, Dunfermline, and Inverness, who are going to be definitely up in that top three. And then you've got your kind of Dundee as well, perhaps. And then you've got Alloa, Queen of the South, Arbroath. Those three are going to be down the bottom the whole season. I think we both predicted Queen of the South to go down, in fact. So it's evident, but Arbroath remain the only team without a win. And that does that. A good result for Alloa. I've seen it coming. Well done, Peter Grant. Big Celtic man. Nah, that's what matters. I'm just taking this to wind up Dave at this point. The next game to talk about in the Championship was between two of the teams I just mentioned a moment ago. 2-2 draw. Inverness 2, Dundee 2. I mean, it was actually quite entertaining. The goals kind of flowed in towards the end. But Dundee getting a result that surprised me. Any thoughts, Kim?
I mean, where is the two of them sitting in the table at this current moment?
At the current moment in time, it leaves Dundee down in 7th. They're having a garbage, man. They're absolutely garbage. And Inverness are now 5th. If they won that game, they would have been up in 3rd. But drawing with Dundee at home.
I mean, it's two teams that would have higher aspirations for themselves this season, just to try and push on, even if it means just being in the playoffs and that. But teams like Dundee with the acquisitions of Adam and Dorans, they must have been looking at the season ahead going like, I think we could have a proper crack at this. But I mean, it's proved them especially after the humiliating defeat in the first game.
I mean, that was defensively all over the place. And I think see it, they're still leaking goals. I know it's only 2 they've conceded to one of the best teams in the league, but they've not really been doing well at keeping goals out this season. Then that's. I mean, it's
a decent result for them going away to Inverness and getting the draw, I suppose. But I mean, I think Inverness will be looking at that as a loss, to be honest with you.
Because they've got these are games that by the end of the season can make or break whether or not you're finishing in a playoff place or whatnot. I'm sure Inverness will be there or thereabouts, but it's a tough one. We were talking the other day, but just in the talk of Charlie Adam, we did the last show, we had asked both David and Callum to describe Charlie Adam in 3 words. I think David went with bald. I went with old. And then Callum says if he was to speak, he'd be in big trouble. So Kieran, I ask you now, do you have 3 words to describe Charlie Adam?
I don't know if I could fit it into 3, to be honest. I
don't know if he could fit in.
You fit a bus through his teeth. But
I am so sorry, Charlie Adam, if you're watching, but it's just a laugh. Right, that's. I think. No, wait. Have we got one more game? I saved that for last because it's of course the team who are in the cup final this week. They're not playing midweek because they're also out the cup. After I seen this result come through on Saturday, before Celtic had played, I didn't think much of it in terms of how it will impact Celtic because Queen of the South are one of the worst teams in the league. You'd expect Hearts to walk over them. But when I was watching, I was like, oh god, this is going to make Hearts the favourites now. And the rookies are going, oh, let's go over this. 6-1. Does it worry you heading into the final? What are your thoughts on the game in general, Kieran?
I don't know. I mean, 6-1 is obviously a good result regardless of who you're playing. It's just showing that you've got the attacking flair to go and score 6 goals. But I mean,
against any team, 6 goals is impressive. This is still a team that's in the Championship.
As I've mentioned before, but it's different mentalities going into different games. If Hearts come out and have a proper go at us, like I think maybe if we were in the form that we were 2 weeks ago, we never had the wins under our belt, maybe they would have proper came out and had a go. I don't think they're going to come back and sit in for the full final. They will probably have a go. They can't just go to a cup final and but I mean, they're not going to go there all out attack, I don't think. But 6 goals for MD is going to be a confidence boost. Going into a game against Celtic,
and knowing the position we're in as well,
they will be fancying their chances, even though we have got the past 2 wins. But it's just, it will be a different game for them because they will need to defend more than what they would have against Queen of the South. But they did like a goal, so.
Well, one goal. It's always a positive. One goal after scoring 6. But the thing is about Hearts, Craig Gordon, Stephen Naismith, Liam Boyce, Jamie Walker, Stephen Kingsley, Christoph Berra,
it's not a championship squad.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. You look at it, and even like Irvin in the middle, Smith at right back. Two good players, man.
I just hope Craig Gordon's not got a vendetta against us.
Agent Gordon in the penalty shootout, man.
Game his life against us. Just
he's going to be better than Barkas or Bain, whoever plays next week. But Hearts 6-1, which does leave them, I believe, top of the table. Their camera cuts out, woohoo. But I'll get that in a minute. So Hearts top of the table now by 4 points. Dunfermline, you've got some catching up to do. Right, League 1 and League 2, we're going to do the usual and pretty much fly through it here. Have a quick opinion on results, how the league stands, blah blah blah. Because as I've said at the start, I'm in a rush, so I need to get things done today. So we'll start with League 1, and we'll make sure I do it right. I've not got David to correct me this week. Have you seen the amount of howlers I've made with this?
No, I can only imagine.
Regularly, I've got this terrible habit of reading out the results from last week. So I start so last week it was Falkirk 2, Peterhead 1. I sit there and I'm like, alright, so Falkirk 2, Peterhead 1. David just stares me in the eye. I'm like, what? He's like, let me remember. So I've got a big job on my shoulders here. So we'll start off with Falkirk anyway, who played Clyde this weekend, beat them 3-0. Easy days.
3-0 away from home. I mean, it's a team that's got serious aspirations
going up.
So I mean, I think it was a good result for them and a couple of other teams in the league that have got the.
Aye, and I was saying it to, I was talking to David the other day when I was watching the scores come in, the classified results and all the rest of it. Charlie Telfer, Scott Mercer, they've got good players in their team as well, and they're getting goals from all areas of the park. Mercer in the defence, Telfer in the midfield, and then you've got players like Connor Salmon up front. It's a decent side. It's a team that's going to come up this season more than likely. Clyde, rough time of it. They have got good players as well, but what else do you expect? Peterhead 2 is 5-1, 10 men. Peterhead come through and get the win. And what else is there to add to anything at all there, Kieran?
I mean, any time I back Peterhead and Mick Cooten, they never win.
They're like they're always doing there, like you'd expect them to be, but they're flying now. 9 points for the opening 8 games. Fantastic, really. Well done. Day Kieran a turn though the next time. That's what matters. 4-0 Partick 2. Thistle again with a win. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's, as I said, same as Falkirk. They've got the hopes are gone up automatically. They don't want to have to be gone through the playoffs and that this year. So, I mean, it's a good result going away from home and getting these sort of results. Obviously, you can rely on maybe getting them at home, but to go away to places like this and just grind out the results. I don't know how they play though. I've no caught up
it's
in
hard
the
to
highlights
access the highlights for all these games, you know. But it's the thing is with Partick, very quickly touch on, because there's a lot more to add to them than there is a lot of the other teams, because they are, aspirations have gone up. 6 points adrift now at the top. They've started pulling it together. They want to close that gap on Falkirk, but Ian McCall will be satisfied, because that's now I think 5 games in a row without losing after what was a tough start.
There was a bit of pressure mounting on them at the start of the season,
because you look at how the last season ended, this season started. It was looking like McCall was close to even getting the job, man. Like it wasn't a far off cry. But now they're pulling it together. 3 wins in the last 4. I'm sure they will close that gap a wee bit more. Falkirk are due to slip up at some point. 6 wins, 2 draws to start their season. You always see it these things. You've seen the Premiership as well. Teams go on a really good run of form, then something happens. There is a bit of a they fall apart. You know what happens. But Partick with a win too to try and keep some form of pressure on Falkirk. Dumbarton 1, Cove Rangers 0. Cove, a team up the top with aspirations as well, losing this weekend. A very poor result for them. But I mean, Dumbarton, they've started once again a team who's picked up a good couple of results recently. But your thought, I don't know if you were on it, we asked this the last time, your thoughts on Cove and the whole kind of rise. Do you see them becoming do you think Championship is now very realistic for them over the next couple of years?
I think if any club starts to get money ploughed into them and they're rising up the leagues, I think it's inevitable that they will get up there. Whether they reach heights of the Premiership is back-to-back promotions, I don't know, but
I think they're a bit off that.
They've got some decent players in that in the squad.
He should be higher up than that.
Was he in that Scottish Cup winning team with Hibs? Or was he the year after?
I think he would have been.
Even if he didn't start, he would have been.
I think he was there. I just remember his ginger hair. I just remember that.
Auburn.
But it's once again a team that will be aspirations to go up, but it does kind of halt them a wee bit. They're still sitting third, but as we said, the gap is already there between both Falkirk and Partick, and now you've got to account for Falkirk and Cove as well. 7 points the gap between them. And I think, well, one more game that I've missed out. No, 2 more games. Aberdeen 0, Montrose 1.
After you predicted them to go down.
And I said, I kept up. I've actually had quite. I need to go back and watch because I think I've done really well on predictions this weekend. I said Montrose 1, Aberdeen 0, I'm sure. I do just back anybody against Aberdeen at this point, but I got that one right. I know exactly. But a poor result for Aberdeen being at home, considering they are a team who finished third last season. But a very good result on the other, the flip side of that. Montrose who've started this season decent too. And then finally, the last game in League One was.
I think you've covered all.
That's all. Nearly got it. But at least I've got somebody to keep me right. And finally, then League Two. As we head, how many minutes into the show are we? 36 minutes. So no bad. We're doing well. Stranraer 2, Stirling 2. I mean, what else can I work with there? Usually this is where something David would jump in and give me a fact. I just do not care about.
I'm sure he's shouting at the screen now.
I bet he's shouting. I bet that once again something's happened in this game.
We've missed games of the season.
Somebody some shock tackle or something happened in this.
I mean, was it Stennismuir that you were talking about? There was a red card in that game. So.
No, it was Stranraer and Stirling I was talking about. Aye. You've got it this time.
Oh no. Wait, hold on, Stranraer and Stirling?
Aye. Oh wait, I've done it again!
I've me?
I can just tell right now, David, it's 11. There's a train upturn somewhere in the Highlands. I was looking at the wrong week again. It happens every time. Like I go on and I click on I open up the week and I scroll up to see what's happened. And just to remind myself what happened last week and I read it the wrong one.
The disrespect he's shown to your clubs now.
I wonder. Well, no, it's actually quite weird. I don't think I've ever had a comment for like, oh hi, I'm a Stirling Albion fan. I really like how you're giving us some limelight. I don't think I ever had it. I think the lowest I've seen is like, I don't know, Falkirk. Right.
They're well supported too.
They're League One though, aren't they? But I don't know. My apologies. My apologies, David, who I know right now is genuinely seething. We'll start again then. So we'll get to Steny as you brought up. That was 2-0. Steny Stranraer. Unless did I say Steny Stranraer? I don't know.
I don't even know what you said.
A 2-0 draw with a red card in the offing as well. A late goal for Stennismuir. It was quite an entertaining game to be fair. And a result for both teams, especially Stennismuir being down to 10 men, is not bad because they're both in that kind of same area of the table. You have any thoughts to add?
No.
Thank you very much, Kieran. We've got, well, actually, I don't know why we've not started with this because it was probably genuinely game of the weekend across all 4 leagues. Queen's Park free, Edinburgh City free. What a game! And 2 teams who have, of course, kind of solidified themselves as 2 of the top teams in that league. They left it, and I think David actually might have predicted a 3-0. Now that I think about it, I generally think he might have. Queen's Park, Edinburgh City. Thoughts, Kieran? Anything?
I mean, I sort of did. I looked at that this weekend. Actually, thought that would be a good game, and it certainly didn't disappoint. I mean, 3 each. I mean, some of the players that Queen's Park have got in, they've got them on full-time contracts now. They've got the serious ambition of trying to make something with the club. For years, they're just sort of drifting about the lower leagues.
They've got an amateur side as well.
But I mean, to go and make that intent, but I mean, 3 each. It's a decent result away from home for Edinburgh City.
Because I think Edinburgh City, if I remember rightly, Edinburgh City have had a tough time of it recently. Oh no, they have not at all. They won the last 2. I remember them they did have I think it was 3 games in a row without getting a result. And then they did win back-to-back games, as I've said, but to get that draw, to get a positive heading over to the toughest team in the league, it will definitely be encouraging as to where they end up this season. So I'll quickly fly through the other results because we are running short of time in League 2. So of course 3-0 between Queen's Park and Edinburgh City. The other results, Albion Rovers who went down to 10 men, beating Elgin City 3-1, and finally Stirling Albion won. The Blue Brazil, Cowden Beef 0. The Blue, yeah, there you go there. The Blue Brazil. That's our nickname, mate. The Blue Brazil. It's a lovely nickname, mate. It's a lovely nickname. Right, okay. So we are going to head over to the Twitter questions now, and that should end off the show pretty nicely. I don't know how many we've got. Kieran, are you looking forward to the Rangers fans taking the tickets?
Oh aye.
Oh aye.
Every
oh aye.
week.
Lovely. That's a nice way to put it. Right, let's get them up. Where are they? So TSF Podcast 1, here we go. I wanted to get a quiz on all this week. You and Callum would have been good, but he's running late. Well, I think it's past running at this point.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just a smidgen.
Just a smidgen. Questions for Keelan Ryan as they film today's showcase. The first question from Aaron, who says, as much as it looks like Celtic have improved over the last 2 games, could shoehorning players in and out of positions, e.g. Ayer at right back, Frimpong at right wing, come back to bite Celtic in the ass?
I mean, I think it always seems like a good idea at the start, and they get a run of games, and then when they start playing badly, they should never have been in that position, should never have done it. And I feel I'm guilty as well. See, with Beaton moving back to centre back, like previously, people think, he looks so composed on the ball and that. I think the complete opposite. I think he's got far too many mistakes in him. Like, I think he thinks he's too comfortable on the ball, and that's what ends up causing it. Lackadaisical passing it for the back.
A bit naive as well.
But I don't know. Ayer has looked phenomenal in the past couple of games, and I think he's just gone forward. He's unreal. But
it's one of the ones with Ayer at right back that what happens is, you have those couple of games, fantastic. He has one bad game and it ends in a bad result, and then it's like, he should never be a right back. He's not a right back. That's what happens. That is the reality.
It's exactly what happens. But Ayer especially, I wasn't his biggest fan last season. I thought he had plenty of mistakes in him, and gone into the summer I was like, if he's wanting to leave, let him go. But I mean, this season he came in, I think he's probably been a best centre half up to this point. So I mean, I'm glad we never lost him. It's the same with a couple of players in the team. But
right, one thing that we forgot to touch on completely, it was actually at the end of the main part of the show, and it's good somebody has asked it here because it was a conversation we had to have. Every other Saturday podcast, I wonder what team they support, they ask thoughts on Rangers versus Antwerp. So Europa League draw has been made. Rangers quite a favourable draw, you would say. I know.
If you're a Rangers fan, you're only looking at any tie-in that Europa League last set two. I would take it. So I think they'll be. I know personally, like, their pals are happy with the draw against Antwerp. They're very confident they can go and get a result, and I don't see why they shouldn't be confident, because the results they've been getting in Europe have been remarkable.
And that's the thing. Antwerp, who are probably one of the easier ties they could have got, just no disrespect to Antwerp, and if there's any Belgians watching, then that's the only Belgium, innit? I'm not being an arse.
I know it's Belgium.
Just making sure. I was like, oh no. I'll let you continue on what you're saying in a second. But the thing is, they could have drawn the best team possible there, and I would have still been confident Rangers going through. They've been that good in Europe.
See, the only possible thing is like the sort of complacency, but I don't think they will do it. But it's just, whereas last year we went into a tie, and I think that was their downfall. Going into a tie for the first time, thinking, easy days.
Because the year before we had Valencia,
you were expecting
Zenit, St. Petersburg.
You were expecting to get put out, but it was like when we went away first, when we finally got that away tie first, and thought, right, we've got the draw away, go and finish the job at Celtic Park, and we got embarrassed.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to happen to Rangers. I think they've got the mindset.
I think they're far too good for that to happen. Right?
I think they're too well drilled in Europe to go and let that happen. But that's the only problem I can maybe see arising, sort of complacency. But nah, I still think they'll breeze past them.
Because the job is for Rangers, go to Ibrox. Where is it? Are they at Ibrox first, or are they in Belgium?
They're away first.
Away first. But anyway, when they do play at Ibrox, but first or second, whatever, you know what it's got to do. Bread and butter for them. 2-0 win, nothing exciting, but getting the job done. That's it.
You could even be looking at the possibility of fans being back in limited numbers at that point as well, so that could be an extra boost for getting the home tie.
And it's a team who a lot of people are touting to go further than this round of the competition. So fair play to Rangers in the draw. Celtic, if they did head through, would have either got Ajax or the other team?
Red Star, I think.
Red Star or Ajax. So Celtic would have been papped at their arse.
Yep,
exactly. So not too bad. We'll move on to the next question. I'm trying to make sure that we can get a nice balance here. So here's one from Connor Carr, which is interesting. Thoughts on Neil Lennon starting the old guard for the cup final? I think Sorrow and Turnbull should definitely have been starting, but of course he said that he's going to go with the squad that's worked towards it.
It's so unbelievably naive on his part for the fans to finally sort of be off his back a wee bit, because he's made the changes and it's proved to have worked. We've played well the past 2 games. From to then go and say, it's a sort of sentiment thing.
And the worst part about it is, you think about it, this is generally the job which could be determining his future as manager.
I know.
And he's doing that.
And the fact the board have came out and said he's got to the cup final on that on a couple of occasions, and for him to turn around and say, but they got us there. Like, what's the point in that?
It's very naive.
I seen somebody say on Twitter, and it's spot on. These players have known for a while now that this cup final's coming up. If they wanted to play in it so badly, they should have been playing well and they would up to it.
Exactly.
No to get in I was playing in that last game, so I should be in. Like, I don't like that pitch, especially like gone with keepers and that as well. Is he going to start Barkas? Is he going to start Bain?
Well, I mean, there was only one keeper here, wasn't there? That was Bain, so technically speaking, it should be Bain that's in goal.
I don't like that whole cup keeper thing as well, even when times are normal. I don't like it. Play your best keeper.
Aye. I just like the thought. I hate the English mentality of let's
completely rotating the squad.
I guess that's the reality that we've hit now. We've got a question from Declan. Declan 72 once again. I'll let you guess what team you support. He says Tavernier or Frimpong. You've got to be I wish David was here to ask him.
It's got to be Tavernier, obviously. I mean, Frimpong, he's not even been getting that much praise off Celtic fans recently for him to try and argue his corner. See, he can go forward, but he's not got anything on the end yet. He sprints, he's got the pace in that, but when he's got the ball, he doesn't know where he's gone yet.
I think there's been a big difference in him between this season and last season. Last season I feel like he was more dangerous when he had the ball.
He was running into the byline and taking players on, and now when he's taking players on, he's just taking into areas where he can't do anything with it. But Tavernier, as we spoke on earlier, he's just been phenomenal this year, for quite the night and day for last season and seasons before.
Rissy, thank you Rissy, love you mate. He asks, can you ask, he's assuming David's asking the questions because he normally does, so I feel bad because David left him out the last show. Says, can you ask Ryan if he's having a nice Monday? I am having a brilliant Monday. Fantastic. David's gone. Life is good. Can't complain. So I've got two more questions to ask. One is a bit of a laugh, so we'll get that out the road. James asks, would you I don't know how this has managed to find its way into the show. David once again is flipping the bus somewhere. Fight a duck-sized lion or a lion-sized duck?
Duck-sized lion. Just a cat in it.
That's right, you've got one basically, so that's fair enough. And finally, the last question that we'll touch on. We've not had a lot of Rangers, unless there's one that's just kind of missed my inbox, and I would love to be able to find any more Rangers or other team-based questions. The other question is from Lewis Laird, who asks, how great is Ismail Soro?
I don't want to get carried away to the Ryan levels that we've seen in the past couple of videos, but he's been playing well. If you can keep that up, then he's got to be a mainstay in the team. I don't think people should be getting too far ahead of themselves. He's not doing the glamorous job, but he's doing the job that needs done, breaking up the play and that, and it was especially shown in Europe, as I said, just because he's got players running at him 24/7. But I mean, it's the exact replacement you've needed for Brown for years. Everybody said who's going to be the replacement for Brown, but it's that role of player. You've seen players earlier, people saying earlier on the season about how Turnbull should be coming in for Brown. Completely different players, not even the same role on the pitch. But now you've got Soro that can come in for Brown and hopefully cements his selling the team further for the rest of the season and continues to put in performances like he has week in, week out.
Well, nice answer. And we've basically done the show, but I've just remembered on the very last part of it that we do have a couple of games to talk about tomorrow and Wednesday night, and that is the League Cup. It's the quarter-finals, so of course we've kind of ran time that much that we can't give a full match breakdown preview, and I'm sure David would love to be here because it's not often he sees his club make the quarter-final of the Cup. But we'll kind of give our predictions very quickly as to who will go through, and that will do us for today's show. So the first game is at East End Park. That's tomorrow at 7:45. Dunfermline against St Johnstone. Are Dunfermline going to knock out the Premiership side, or will St Johnstone fire back after a loss at the weekend?
I don't know. If St Johnstone had got the result at the weekend, I'd have thought, it would probably blow them out the water, but I don't know, it just depends who turns up on the day. If St Johnstone have another poor game like they did at the weekend, I feel nothing stopping Dunfermline going to get it. I'm going to go with Dunfermline.
I'm going to go with Dunfermline too. I think a big thing for Dunfermline will be who's available, who plays. They left Fraser Murray out at the weekend, which seemed to have disgruntled a few Dunfermline fans after him coming off the back of some fine form. Stephen Whittaker, I believe, is out injured, and that's a big miss of course a player his calibre. But I do feel like they'll have enough to get over the line, especially being at home. But it's not going to be easy. St Johnstone, of course.
It's always going to be a hard game.
And the game tomorrow night as well, following on from that, is Alloa against Hibs. And I will be stunned if Peter Grant gets anything from this game, so I'm going to go for a Hibs win.
And it's surely got to be a Hibs one, surely.
I mean, Alan Troughton can pop up with a goal here and there.
But could Alloa do the double against the Edinburgh Cubs?
Yeah, I know they knocked out Hearts and people wrote them off there. And I mean, Hearts beat Hibs, so technically they'd be a better team.
Technically, Alva's just won the League Cup.
Exactly, that's the
There
best
we
thing.
go.
Better get Bjorn Grant than what. And then the following night, we've got Livingston take on Ross County, which is the kind of game of the tie, or the round, sorry. I don't know, Ross County, of course, coming off the back of knocking out Celtic, will probably have a lot of ambition now to head to Hampden. But Livingston, 2 back-to-back wins now, looked good in both of them. I'm going to go Ross County. After knocking out Celtic, I think they would be disappointed in themselves if they don't head through here.
I don't know, it's the results Livingston have been getting in Ross County. I mean, I know it was against Aberdeen at the weekend, but they did get the result. It's just a tough one. I'm going to go Livingston, just to cap off the recent run of form.
Okay, we're different there, we'll see come Friday. And then finally, the last game of the round, St Mirren against Rangers, who now kind of have one hand on the trophy. If they get past St Mirren, then the only really tough team in there for them would be Hibs. You'd fancy them against any other side. So is it Rangers playing a simple win tomorrow or Wednesday night? Sorry,
I can't see past that. I genuinely can't. I mean, the way Rangers have been playing, even when they've not been at the top of the game, grinding the results, they can swap the team around and still play well. It's just it's the system that's working, and they can fit into it. So I think probably a convincing one for Rangers against St Mirren.
I'd imagine. Jim Goodwin, do us a favour, please. I beg of you. No, I'm joking. But it's time to end the show. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Kieran, it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Pleasure being on.
Look forward to seeing you whenever I don't even know who's on whatever now. David's just left me in charge, and that's not a good idea. So make sure to check out the rest of the podcast and everything else, streams and stuff. David and me should be doing some form of content while he is back home. But we'll see how it goes, and like and subscribe, check out Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the rest of it, and see you all next time. Happy days. Hey.